very important one. And if Joshua will permit me to share my screen, I would really like to do that now. Okay, Joshua, great. Thank you very much for that. So in the next 45 minutes or so, we'll be discussing a very, very important subject, which is how to use transformative mediation to resolve communal conflicts. Incidentally, fortunately, the Institute has seen the peculiarities of communal conflicts, which has made it to float a special training on communal conflicts, I think in the last 5 years. So you may want to ask why? What is so special about communal conflicts that we need a special type of training or a special type of mediation to resolve it? And that is what we'll be treating today. I know that many of us are participating in the program. We are veterans. We are not new to mediation. Some of us are. Some of us have not even taken any training in mediation, whereas many of us have already done that. Okay, so what is communal conflicts? What makes it so unique for it to be treated as a peculiar case? If you're a Nigerian, you know that communal conflict is all around us. Hardly do we find any of our 774 local governments that is without communal conflict. Some communal conflicts are centuries old, and that is not an exaggeration. I've been personally involved in one that is over 200 years old. And one thing about communal conflict, as I've experienced it in Nigeria and most parts of the world, is that they seem to be protracted. They seem to defy resolution. They seem to raise their ugly head when you think you have brokered peace agreement. Why is this so? And why do we think that transformative mediation can be a solution to this special type of conflict? All around us, we see them manifesting in form of farmer-herder conflicts, indigenous settler disputes over resources, over land, and so on and so forth. Generally, we call them communal conflict because the issues in the conflict are issues of interest in a community or between communities. They are community issues. There may be issues within a community like chieftaincy title, markets, siting of markets, siting of new roads, and so on and so forth, that we pitch one part of the community against the other, as was the case in OD, when I researched it over a decade ago, when the siting of the NDDC concrete road pitched the northern part of Udi against the southern part of Udi. So communal conflict could be within a community, and it could be between a community and another community, maybe over boundary, maybe over oil well, maybe over allocation of local government resources, and so on, maybe over sharing of scholarship. And it could be between a community and federal government and government, a community and oil company. So communal conflicts are so called because the issues of incompatibility are issues of the community. And they usually happen within the physical area of, community, close to the community, proximate, close area to the community. And many of our members, many mediators have tried to mediate these things. They demarcate boundaries, they schedule use of resources, and we sign contracts, we sign settlement agreements, hoping that all is well, only for us to hear that this thing has gone back to what it used to be before. And when you compare the rate at which communal conflicts or settlement of communal conflict fail to other conflicts, you will know that communal conflict needs a special attention. Many times, when we apply the rules or the methods of other mediation strategies to communal conflicts, we only solve the problem. We didn't heal, and we don't heal the relationship between the people. And that is the main reason why we have recourse to violence, recourse to conflicts in communal conflict. Okay, why do we have these conflicts? There are so many reasons we have communal conflicts. Generally, the generic reason we will say is due to incompatibility of goals. But these incompatibilities, they come in different shades. For instance, we could have identity, the issue of identity, settler, indigene. It could be issue of dignity. Many times they are not just about resources, they're about who belongs to somewhere, who is the son of the soil, as we used to say it in Nigeria. Sometimes they're about who is respected and whose existence is validated. So it's about identity and dignity. Okay, I think I can now use my phone. Sorry. Manageable. Joshua.
Sir.
Is my video a bit manageable?
Please proceed. Don't worry. We can see your slides. We can go
Okay,
ahead.
Great. Thank you. Sometimes it's about historical grievances. Like I said, some conflicts, communal conflicts are centuries old. They've started generations, even pre-modern times. So the conflict today is fueled by chosen traumas of yesterday. The stories of past harms are alive and present, and it continually shapes the current interaction. Sometimes they are as a result of interconnected system, because conflict is a tangled web of relationships, economics, politics, and culture. All these things, they make communal conflict so entangled and so complex, such that they don't ordinarily lend themselves to easy resolution. So when you break down communal conflict this way, this is what you see. This is like the anatomy of protracted communal conflict. And any communal conflict, any conflict happening, even if it is a fresh conflict, in a place where there's no history of conflict before, if it is a communal conflict, it has a potential to become protracted if in settling it, we only address the problem, not the relationship. Don't forget that in communal conflict, in communities, people are closely connected. Unlike people living in urban areas, people are like extended kins, and people still have attachments to the environment, they have attachment to some cultural things, they have attachment to so many things that urban people take for granted, that urban people no longer even think about. So all these make communal conflicts murky, make it very complex in nature. Now, we need to shift from settlement to transformation. We need to shift from problem-solving mediation to transformative mediation. What are the differences? Problem-solving mediation is about fixing the problem. It's about getting to agreement. How can we solve this problem and get an agreement? How can we sign an agreement? It is agreement targeted. We focus on the issues. We focus on the issues in problem-solving mediation. However, in transformative mediation, we ask the question, how can we change the quality of destructive human interaction? The focus here is the relationship, because we know that when the relationship is changed, when the relationship is transformed, then people by themselves can address the issues. They are empowered to address their issues. So the focus is on relationship, and we measure success in transformative mediation based on stronger communities, more respectful relationships. Unlike success in problem-solving mediation, which is focused on agreements, settlement agreements. Once we have a signed settlement agreement, then we have succeeded. That is in problem-solving mediation. Whereas in transformative mediation, our success is measured in improvement of the relationship among the people, be it within a community itself, or between a community and another community, or between a community and another party. Could be government, could be companies, and so on. In transformative mediation, the agreement is a byproduct of the transformed relationship, not the goal itself. Transformative mediation is based on the principle of conflict transformation as espoused by John Paul Lederach, and also popularized, extended by Joan Galtung as well, whereby, in which case, we focus on changing destructive relationship to constructive relationship, harnessing the power of conflict, or transforming the destructive power of conflict to something constructive. Transformative mediation is built on this. It's like converting waste to wealth. Transformative mediation is like seeing the waste that conflict is likely to bring about, and then taking this waste and converting it to wealth. So let's see what we do and what we don't do. For us to be transformative mediators, we need to acquire what I call the transformative mindset. The transformative mindset. A key aspect of the transformative mindset that a mediator must acquire when you are intervening, when you are mediating a communal conflict, is that you, the mediator, you are the guardian of the process. The parties are the experts on their problem. They are pregnant with their own solutions. The mediator is only an expert on the process. But the parties are the experts on their problems. Why? Why do we just call them experts on the problems, on their problems, only to make them feel good? No. They are experts on the problem because they have lived through this problem. They have simulated many scenarios, many solutions to the problem in their minds. They have seen what worked and what didn't work. What didn't work, rather. So they have all this in their minds. All we have to do as mediator, our own expertise, is to help them to communicate better, to help them listen to themselves, and to bring out the solutions from them, much more than we will do in any other conflict, much more than we will do in interpersonal conflict. Because communal conflicts has a dimension of group dynamics. It has a dimension of group dynamics, which makes it very explosive if it is not handled carefully. So what are the things we do not do in transformative mediation in communal conflicts? We do not direct the conversation. We do not propose solutions. We do not evaluate arguments. We push for settlements. You see, in practice, and as we even go further, you will see that there could be slight modifications to some of these, especially in the area of proposing solutions. Some people may say, okay, so what is your role if you don't propose solutions? We will see in practice. There is a case study we're going to be talking about. We're going to see how a mediator can cash in on what the parties are saying to subtly suggest or tilt them in the area of solutions. So what are the things we do in transformative mediation? What are our role as mediator? We must listen with profound intensity. We must create a safe space for difficult conversations. We must trust the parties' capacity to find their own way. And we must, we should know that our expertise is in the process, not the problem. These are the things we do. Listen intensively with intensity, create a safe space for difficult conversation, trust the parties' capacity to find their own way, and know that our expertise is in the process, not the problem. Okay. There are two pillars of transformative mediation, or two pillars of conflict transformation. Empowerment is when through the way we handle the whole process, we shift. There's a shift by the communities from a feeling of weakness and helplessness about the conflict to a feeling of strength and clarity. That is, when a community reclaims their role, their agency, their power to make their own decisions. When communities are in conflict, when they're in conflict, just like individuals there is a feeling of helplessness might have crept in along the line, a feeling of powerlessness, a feeling of this thing is beyond us. Oh, the government has taken over. The other side, they are favored by court judgment, or they are favored by whatever. That might have come in. Many times when we engage in communal conflict, the first, the preparation stage, when we are still talking to them about mediation, you will see that these people, they just want to dump the whole thing on you. There's this tendency to see the mediator as the savior. Oh, the knight in the shining armor has come. Oh, the Messiah has come. So they just want to give you everything and expect the mediator to churn out magically, to churn out a kind of solution that will take away all their pains. Transformative mediation will find a way of shifting the power focus away from the mediator to the parties. And this we do right from the preparation stage. When we go to explain mediation to them, when we allow them to be part of every decision about when to mediate, the venue, about the time for each session, about selecting their own representatives. This way, we gradually empower the communities. When we train them on how to analyze conflict, when we train them on how to communicate in conflict, how to communicate without venom, how to communicate their interests and their needs rather than threats, rather than their fears, rather than communicating helplessness, through the process of mediation. When we take them through transformative communication, when we take them through transformative dialogue, they begin to see that they can be in charge of their own situation. They begin to see that they can determine to a very great extent the outcome of this conflict. The conflict which has seemed to have taken a life of its own and has been seen to be directing them, dictating to them the course it will take. They will now see how they can master and begin to direct and begin to influence this conflict towards their desired end. Empowerment is when we let them know, when along the line, they see that they have the power to envision a desired future. So we will see a gradual transformation of a people who have thought they are helpless, who have thought they are weak, to a people who begin to see themselves as in charge, as having the power to influence the outcome. That is when the community has been empowered. That is when the community reclaims its agency to make its own decisions. That is the first pillar. The first pillar of sustainable peace in communal conflicts through transformative mediation. So we see that through this empowerment, the relationship between the mediator and the community people and the parties changes in favor of the community people as far as power is concerned. Power over that, or power over the conflict, power over the outcome. The second pillar is recognition, which means the voluntary shift from self-absorption and demonization to understanding and empathy. When parties are in conflict, whether interpersonal or group conflicts, like a communal conflict, the tendency is for each party to see themselves in good light and see the other party as the terrible one, to see the other party as demons, to see the other party as representing and contributing everything or almost everything negative to the situation, and see ourselves as the angel trying to contribute everything good, the reasonable group, the reasonable party. We are self-absorbed in our own righteousness, in our own rights, and we fail to see the interest and the needs of the other party. This plays out in communal conflict. You see a group of a community or a group within a community, they are the one that is right, they are the champion of everything good in the situation, and they are seeing the worst in the other party. But when we apply transformative mediation, which seeks to improve their relationship, which focuses on making the relationship better between the parties begin to understand the legitimate fears, the legitimate claims, the legitimate, or they begin to recognize the legitimacy of the interests and needs of the other party. They develop empathy, especially through transformative dialogue. When we bring them together to listen to themselves, they begin to rehumanize the other party. When they hear how their own actions is inflicting harm on the other party and is causing reaction from the other party. You see, as brilliant, as enormously resourceful human mind is, it's one of its major shortcomings. It is inability, almost complete inability to recognize its own contributions to terrible things in conflict. I mean, we are so concerned about how the thing is affecting us that many times our minds cannot reflect upon, not to talk of accept, that our own action is also inflicting, or we are not able to accept the extent to which our own actions and inaction is, they are causing harm and hurt on the other party. So it's difficult for us to empathize. But when we listen through transformative dialogue and other methods in transformative mediation, we begin to understand and feel the humanity of the other party. And that leads to empathy. That is the second pillar. That is recognition. It's the moment one party genuinely sees the humanity and perspective of the other. And this is so powerful. It has a way of neutralizing, or let me say the minimum, of watering down the venom that a party is planning to unleash on the other party. When they see that killing a member of the other party, when they see how it impacted on his family, when they see the consequences it has on the children, and they realize that a father, a mother, a sister in community A is the same, has the same role as a father, a mother, and a sister in community B. These are very, very important. Without empowerment and recognition, it is impossible to transform relationship in communal conflict. It is impossible to have said that we are applying transformative mediation. This necessarily demands patience on the side of the mediator. It demands investment of time to get parties to this level. Sometimes it happens at unexpected, many times at unexpected time, when a party is telling their story and a part of the story strikes a nerve in the other party and their humanity is unleashed. The striking of the chord may be in one person first of the other community. You mean that this is what this place means to you? Or you mean that, you see, when that happens, parties are beginning to recognize that both of us are being victims to a larger or smaller extent here. They begin to see how their actions and reactions is contributing to the hurt and the retaliation from the other party. So, a mediator applying transformative mediation must deliberately work towards these two pillars: recognition and empowerment. These are the pillars of sustainable peace in communal conflict. Okay, I call this, the following, the engine of transformation, and that is transformative communication. That is communicating in a way to transform relationship. I've always said that communication is the foundation for negotiation. Why? Because if you are going to be a good negotiator in conflict, you have to know how to articulate your interests and your needs and try as much as possible to approximate, to estimate the interests and needs of the other party, and then package your offer in consideration of the other party's interest. That is negotiation. Packaging the offer you make to the other party, that is principal negotiation anyway, in a way that addresses their interests and needs to the best of your understanding. That's why I said communication is the foundation for negotiation. And negotiation is the foundation for mediation. You cannot be a good mediator if you're not a good negotiator. You cannot. In fact, that's why we say mediation is facilitated negotiation. So transformative communication is at the core of transformative mediation. Communicating in a way to transform relationship of parties. One, empathetic listening. Hearing the story and the emotion behind the positional demands. If a community is demanding this, what is the story behind it? What is the emotion behind their positional demands. In one of our courses in the Institute, Advanced Communication, we treat empathetic listening. I mean, is a major thing there. Empathetic listening. The second tool here is strategic storytelling. Strategic storytelling, where we create space for parties to share their narratives. It is these stories that humanize the conflict and builds bridges for understanding. It is this story that leads to empathy from the other party when they realize that, oh, so these groups are also humans. When they see that the same red blood flow in their veins. Because demonization in conflict is a very strong mechanism. It is easy for our mind to quickly go into this state of seeing the worst in the other people, in the other part. That is why in Africa, I mean, this is not an African thing. I'm just talking about Africa because I'm very familiar with it. This is where I live in Nigeria. That's why some people thrive, spiritualists, whatever color they are, they thrive because once they convince you that you have an enemy, and that enemy, usually the father's house, they are the most hit. They say, enemy in my father's house. Mother's house, they are not usually that hit, but sometimes you get them enemies at work. And you can put a face on that enemy. I mean, oh, God helps that man or woman. If a monkey is pursuing in the dream, the first person your mind goes to is that person. If you trip, if you cough too much, why? Demonization. I mean, it's so easy for our minds to do. So strategic storytelling helps to dismantle the structure, the mechanism of demonization. So we have to allow parties to tell their stories. Oh, when those animals were killed, when those farmlands were set on fire, what did it mean? Oh, I was hoping to pay my children's school fees from the harvest of the corn, and they set it on fire. Oh, so my children have not been in school for the past 2 years. Oh, because they have children too. They can feel the pain in this narrative, the pain of this storyteller in their narratives. The third toolkit, this is not exhaustive, but these are the three ones are brought out. The third one is the power of cultural wisdom. You cannot underemphasize this. When we use culturally relevant proverbs, metaphors, and adages to gently reframe the conflict and invite new perspectives. You see, somebody says perspective is everything, reality may be nothing. If people act on perception. This perception can be imaginary, it can be real. Many of us on this platform, we are familiar with the story of siblings fighting over an orange, 4 of them or 2 of them. Eventually, when their mother intervened, they found out that one needed the juice of the orange, the other needed the peel for baking, another one needed the seed for a Greek project, the fourth sibling needed the roughage because of constipation. The 4 of them initially perceived the orange as an incompatible goal. But when their mother helped them to focus on interests and needs, they found out that one orange actually satisfied the 4 of them. In many conflicts, the perceived incompatibility is only imaginary. In many other conflicts, it is real. But through culture, whether real or imaginary, relevant proverbs within the culture of the community can help change people's perspective about conflict. about conflict, about the nature of incompatibility generally. I give you a quick one from my grandfather in our village in Kuta in Osun State. I mean, he's late now. I think he died in 1987. He was reputed to be a good mediator. They bring difficult cases to him. And when he's confronted with very stubborn disputants, he has a popular saying that has even been passed to us. And the saying, I'll say it in Yoruba, then translate. He will say, tá a bá ní kọ́rọ̀ ò tán, tó o bá ní ò ní tán, tí ìwọ gan bá tán kọ́. Tá a bá ní kí ọ̀rọ̀ ò tán, tí ìwọ bá ní kò ní tán, tí ìwọ gan bá tán kọ́. Meaning, if you are saying that a matter should be laid to rest, and you are saying the matter should not be laid to rest, what if you yourself, you rest in peace as the matter not rested? In other words, what if you die? You see, you wouldn't say it in a way, in a threatening way, but in an unassuming way, but the message has been passed. That, it's showing the transient nature of life and of this matter. When in a communal conflict, we have a way of passing relevant proverbs at the right time, in fact, to set the tone of conflict, to set the tone of the process. It begins to change the perspective of the people. The impact of such adages, metaphors, will be greater if it is situated within their own culture. If it is not imported, and that is why cultural sensitivity is very important. Sometimes when we go for communal conflict, if you are not very, very familiar with the culture, there is nothing bad if you hire somebody that is, maybe as a consultant during or before, that could school you and that can be present throughout, because culture is very important here. I encourage people, you can have such cultural wisdom written on wall hangings and put them around, so that even before you start the process, people are coming in, they are saying it in their own language, they are saying it in the language they can relate with, English, before you start the session. There is one, I don't know where this one came from. It says, conflict is like a fire. It said conflict is like a fire, meaning that it can offer warmth and it can also cause destruction. So conflict is like a fire offering light for warmth, and it can be destructive. So when somebody sees something like that on the wall, it kind of, if you don't manage this thing very well, it can destroy us, or that is why it has been destroying us. But if we manage it very well, we can do something constructive from it. So let's look at this case study quickly. This is a case study of a communal conflict. I have it in my book, in my upcoming book, which I'm going to be talking about briefly later. And is a case of two communities I call Amana and Bello. They have been in a violent dispute over a piece of land which has access to river. Now, a court judgment has gave ownership to Amana community, but Bello community refuses to accept it. Almost every mediator, or let me say most mediators who have been in communal conflicts, who have mediated communal conflicts, have had, at one time or the other, they have had to handle similar cases. Yes, the Supreme Court has said this land belongs to you, but you cannot implement the judgment, cannot execute it. because the other community is still, they are not accepting it. So the atmosphere, zero trust, community are only communicating threats. The court solution has only increased the tension. Now, the transformative question. We don't start by asking, how do we enforce the judgment? No, transformative mediation will not ask that. We start by asking both parties, what has it been like for your community to live through this conflict? We have done all the preparatory stage, brought the community together, and so on and so on. Our entry point question is giving them the opportunity to share their narratives, to tell their stories. Since what has it been for you? Then you see, begin to hear the story. Amana's story will be something like, we speak of our legal rights, our ancestral history, and our fear that Bello wants to erase our heritage. Oh, Bello's story. Oh, economic desperation. We are being treated as outsiders. Our belief that the court was biased. The court's judgment. Somebody must have bribed the court. That is how they start the dialogue, naturally. Now, the shifts, I didn't capture the shift here. The shift will come. In this case, the shift actually came when a member of the Bello story shared their experience of what the river meant for their cattle. And spontaneously, a member of a Mana's community was like, you mean this is how you saw it? I wish I could project that part of the story here. I would really love to. Let me see. Okay, because of time. In the case, so immediately that recognition happened, there was a positive shift in their communication from adversarial to collaborative. What can we do to do this? Okay, what can we do to, so when this is how you interpreted it. That was how the relationship was transformed. It was a major shift. Now, the two communities eventually came to an agreement. Jointly, they created a plan that went beyond the court judgment. They established a joint committee to manage the river and co-founded a new market. The conflict has made them to stop their century-old market, which they have both participated in. Now they started a new market. They now have a joint committee to manage the river because both sides needed the water. The real outcome was the change, the transformation of the relationship. The document was just secondary. They moved from being enemies defined by a court case to being neighbors defined by a shared future. How? They learned how to solve their problems together. This is the only way we can resolve communal conflicts and expect the peace to be sustainable. Anything that is short of this will mean that the community will have to go back to conflict. Okay. At the beginning, I said that the mediator's role is the guardian of the process. So as the guardian of the process, exercise self-restraint. You must resist the urge to help by offering solutions. Your strategic use of silence is sometimes more powerful than your words. You see, we treat this extensively in advanced communication, one of our CPD courses. I mean, how to use silence strategically as a mediator. Also, a mediator has the challenge of time. You don't want to rush the process. You don't want to rush the process. You need to move. It must move at the speed of trust. As trust is being built, that is what should be the timing of the process. Third, the challenge of cultural competence. A mediator, you must do your own work. In one of my, in one of the documents that I've developed, I'll be talking about this shortly now. I talked about the need to research the culture of the people, because culture is very, very important. You need to do your own work. You don't want to use the wrong proverb. It can be disastrous. You can approach a cultural expert or a team of cultural experts to help you if you are mediating in community that is not your own culture. 4, to be the guardian of the process, a mediator has the challenge of severe power imbalances. Sometimes there is skewed power relationship between the communities. You must be skilled at ensuring the weaker party can achieve empowerment without you rescuing them. You see, this demands a lot. Okay, for practitioners, ICMC practitioners and our guests, these are key takeaways. We need to rethink success. We need to think of success as transformed relationship and not just a signed paper. 2, we need to trust the parties. They are the experts. Our job is to facilitate their conversation, not lead it. 3rd, we need to master transformative communication through things like empathetic listening and the use of cultural wisdom as our most powerful tools. And lastly, we need to integrate the principles. The principle, even in his problem-solving mediation, you can use empowerment and recognition to achieve deeper, more durable outcomes. Now, everything I've said so far, they are part of a much deeper framework, which I've discussed in a guide that I'm currently working on. So if you desire for a deeper dive, I invite you to check out my book. I titled it Beyond Settlements, A Practitioner's Guide to Transformative Mediation in Communal Conflict. And in the book, we see the foundation of transformative practice, the transformative mindset, that is the core principles for the practitioner. You get to know the transformative framework, and so on and so forth. And also a compendium of peace proverbs and metaphors from Nigeria, cultures, and around the globe. Okay, as a special webinar offer, I will share with us, as a thank you for attending the conference, unconditionally, I'll give us an outline of the main topics, of the main themes of everything I intend to discuss in the book. And for those of us who want to pre-order the book, if you pre-order, you have 30% discount and instant access to what I call exclusive webinar action pack. And what are those? The exclusive webinar action pack, there are 4 materials which you get free of charge once you pre-order. Also, those people who pre-order will be part of what I call the Ask Me Anything webinar. They'll be founding members where we jointly through a peer tutoring, peer training, or peer empowerment program, teach ourselves, you see, on the principles and practices of transformative mediation. So these are what I refer to as exclusive webinar action pack. One, I have the 11 stages of communal conflict mediation. These specify the stage a practitioner go through when you want to apply transformative mediation to communal conflict. Also, the transformative shift list. These contain 10 questions which you must ask yourself. 5 questions are about what you are doing to ensure empowerment. The other 5 are about what you are doing to ensure recognition. Are you doing it well? They help to guide what you do. The third freebie is the white paper I spoke about, that case study. It's a white paper the day deliver spoke. It's an in-depth case study on transforming a decades-old land dispute. And finally, today's presentation slides. So if you pre-order the book, these are the freebies you get. And you have the link to the pre-order here. You can scan it, this code, or the website. So I think that brings us to the end of the webinar. I want to thank you once again, the Institute, for inviting me. I want to thank every of our participants from Nigeria and around the world for your participation. Your participation has shown an interest in communal conflicts in Nigeria and other parts of the world. Communal conflicts in Nigeria, they are in their hundreds. So it shows that we want to engage them and bring about sustainable development. So once again, thank you everyone for our participation. So questions and answers, yes. Session.
Your Excellency, Professor Demola Akinyoade, that was a great presentation from our prof.
Thank you.
Currently, as we speak, we have over 300 joining us live on Zoom, while we have others joining us on our YouTube channel. And also, if you would like to rewatch this session, we encourage you to subscribe and rewatch on our YouTube channel. You can search for ICMC Nigeria on YouTube, and it will show you where you can rewatch. We encourage you to subscribe, like, and comment. So now we'll be taking questions. So for the question, you can either make use of the raise hand feature, or you type it in the chat box. So you either type it in the chat box or you raise your hands. So if you have any question, please, let's do that. We have a hand raised from, just give me a minute. Chidi, okay. Chidi, please, can you unmute your mic? Chidi, can you please unmute your mic? Okay, let's have, in fact, it's my pleasure to also introduce to us the godfather of the ICMC, Dr. Louis Brown. I have his hand raised. Your Excellency, please, can you unmute your mic, sir?
Thank you so very much, Joshua. First, let me appreciate the ICMC for this wonderful opportunity to reach our people. And let me also appreciate the prof for this well-structured. I have put down this comment on the chat box, but I just want to read it to commend what he has done. Fantastic lecture, superbly delivered. Oftentimes, most of us do not fully realize that by the time we are called into mediating communal conflict, or indeed some other conflicts, even within the family, the interaction between the families will have become mutually destructive, alienating, and detrimentally dehumanizing. At times, you even see people within the same family. Somebody dreams every night to say, oh, somebody is pursuing me, now your face, now they see. And because of that, it causes a lot of animosity. This harmful interaction, including grudges and resentment, damage relationships. And that is the most significant negative result of conflict until we focus on relationship building instead of reaching agreements, which is oftentimes what most people do in mediation. And until we begin to focus on regenerative relationships, rebuilding relationships, instead of pushing for an agreement by parties, it will be a recurring decimal in our national life. And I say this with a very painful heart, because that is exactly what is happening around us in the nation, where we cannot stop the kind of killings that we are seeing in some parts of the nation. I hope we'll be able to have perhaps a follow-up of this, because this is very key to our nation building as at today in Nigeria. I want to thank the president of the ICMC for giving vent to this. Thank you, Joshua, for the array of lecturers and facilitators you are bringing into these our programs. And I want to thank Prof once again for a very well delivered lecture. I appreciate you all.
Thank you.
Your Excellency, Dr. Liz Brown Ogbefon, the Godfather, thank you very much for that comment. Also, we have in the house another leader of ICMC. Please join me as I welcome, he's also a professor, Professor Olajide Olagunju of ICMC. Your Excellency, you're welcome, sir.
Thank you so much. And I find this very educative. I just wanted to, apart from appreciating you, of course, for the book, I think there should be a way of getting the link across to participants. I'm sure Joshua will be able to send it to our emails. Try to photograph the link, and I can get it. Now, to your point on transformation of conflict, I strongly believe, and that is the focus of my book, How to Resolve a Conflict. I strongly believe that the idea of mediation itself is automatically transformative. And so I recognize that often we use mediation to resolve problems instead of focusing on the needs of the parties. And that's why I always emphasize that the number one business of the mediator is to identify, first of all, to recognize what you said severally, that these people before me in conflict, they are a people in a relationship. Without a relationship, you cannot and can never have a conflict. I know some people want to doubt that, but that is obviously the situation. If you look deep into the people in front of you, like the Amana and the Bello, for example, they have centuries of a relationship. And our people say it is because there is an unmanaged conflict that we are now talking to each other in proverbs instead of in poetry and in love. And so I just want to emphasize the fact that we need to improve our skills as mediators so that we don't rush into mediation, whether it is communal or commercial, or as my brother Ogbefun just said, family conflict. We need to be careful as mediators, not to be rushing there as solution provider. We are not the solution. The parties are the solution. And if we can do the main job of the mediator, which is to identify in this relationship in conflict, what are their unmet needs, then the two things can happen. Once we get to that point where they see where the challenge is, where the unmet needs are, they can say, oh, Mr. Mediator, Madam Mediator, can you help us to look for ways and means to resolve the conflict? Or they could say, Mr. Mediator, Madam Mediator, you can go. We know what to do. Like the Amana and the Bello people did. We know what to do to meet this needs. And once that they agree by themselves that this is where the way they want to go, then we have a transformative situation. I agree, of course, that it's nice to have a documented that, but the relationship rebuilt is more important. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Professor Olajide Olagunju. Hopefully, very soon we'll be bringing you up in one of our forthcoming webinars as our guest speaker, because I know you have a lot to share, most especially on communal conflict and ADR in general. So once again, if you have a question, you can drop that in the chat box or use the raise hand feature. Professor Demola, this is a question from Muhammad Lawal. He's asking, what mediation would one offer to two tribes who fight on a land that the judgment gave land to the tribe different from the tribe in occupation. I repeat, what mediation will one offer to two tribes who fight on a land that the judgment gave land to the tribe different from the tribe in occupation?
Thank you very much for that brilliant question. The case is similar to the case study we presented, and like my senior, Professor Olagunju, has said, which I also said in my presentation, is about allowing the parties themselves to find solution to the problem. It's about setting aside the judgment that is dividing them, and the mediator skillfully, by facilitating the process, skillfully turn opponents to collaborators. You see, when we recognize that the parties, they are pregnant with the solution, irrespective of the judgment that a third party, which is in this case a court, has given, the parties themselves know what will work when they are allowed, when they are transformed rather from being opponents to collaborators through working on their relationships, through transforming their relationships. You see, the minds, when the human minds work together, work in unity over a problem, there is no problem big enough that the human mind working in harmony cannot solve. Don't forget the story in the Bible when human beings were still united. Even God said, there is nothing they have set their mind to do that they will not be able to achieve. And God had to come down himself to ensure that their language, that disunity was introduced into their language. That is the Bible story. And many of us believe in the Bible. And many of us are familiar with that. So there is no conflict. No matter how hydra-headed, complex it has been, that the two communities themselves or all the parties themselves cannot jointly birth a solution that will be jointly acceptable, reasonably to all, if the mediator will facilitate that process. Thank you very much. I hope that answers the question, Joshua.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. There's a hand raised. Dr. Chika, please unmute your mic. I just sent you a prompt.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Dr. Chika.
Good afternoon, Prof.
Good afternoon.
I refer to myself as the only medical mediator in the FCT. So thank you very much for a very brilliant and very informative presentation. I learned so much from it. My question is, in this case of Amana versus Bello community, there was a court judgment which was not acceptable to the parties, and they now have this transformative mediation process and they arrive at a settlement. Does the settlement agreement take precedence over the court judgment? What then happens? How is it handled? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before I say anything, let me invite lawyers, I think, or our godfather to say something about that, because it's a simple thing, but I want him to share from his experience. Godfather, are you still there, sir?
Thank you so much, Prof. Incidentally, I just want to make a little small correct. People really see me as a lawyer, but I'm not. I am, and to the doctor that spoke, I'm also a mini medical conflict resolver. So that makes us two. But having said what you said, I want to say that first, the process of conflict resolution is owned by the parties, and whatever they arrive on could be taken as like a finality on any issue. However, to make it therefore very, very, I don't know within the sphere that judgment was gotten, for instance, if you got a judgment and you cannot implement it, and there is still bloodbath in the community, but the people by themselves now decide to say, look, we want to work with this. We are going to set the court judgment apart, and then work together on this to ensure that there is peace in our community. So be it. I'm not sure the judge is now going to act like the Christopher Columbus, now exploring for who carried out my judgment or not. Secondly, I also think that mediation that is well structured and also carried out could have an effect of law if they are well registered. So I think both parties would need to, therefore, I don't have the full details of what now happened in terms of whether they had gone back to court to be able to register because consent judgment is allowed everywhere, but this one may not be a consent judgment because it was not the judge that referred them back. But there is a lot they can do to ensure that that case is brought back and that the judgment of the people by themselves is now therefore recognized. And as long as there is peace in the community, I think so be it. So Prof and Professor Olagunju and my prof in the house, all of you have been in this for a very long time. I want a complimentary answer to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Professor Olagunju. Professor Olagunju, are you there?
Okay. Yes, I was trying to unmute myself. Thank you, Dr. Wefun, and thank you, the learned medical mediator. We are happy to have you in our midst. It's a very interesting situation. I just want to take it from where Dr. Wefun stopped. Just to let you know that I have had a case. As you know, I'm also a lawyer. In the last 37 years, I've been a lawyer. I've had a case. And what he said spoke to my case. It's resonant with my case. They had a judgment, of course, which meant one party won, one party lost, like all cases. And that's when I came in. One of the parties brought me in at the stage of appeal. And indeed, I filed an appeal. But because I'm also a mediator, as I would do in any situation where I'm asked to get involved, whether it's arbitration or litigation, I would always find a way, as much as possible, to ask, can we mediate this? Can we find an amicable approach to this? And so even though there was a judgment, even though when on appeal, I reached out to the other side, not to exchange pleadings or briefs, but to say, can we discuss? And we discussed. And we ended up with a new approach to the conflict. Literally, is a mediated agreement, a negotiated agreement, a settlement agreement. And we took it to the court, to the High Court, and we said, exchange the judgment you gave for this settlement, which will now be a consent judgment. And the judge rightly did so, because that is the business of the court, to ensure that as much as possible, party reach amicable settlement. So that is my experience. So it is possible to approach the conflict, even after judgment, even after Supreme Court, to approach the conflict from a mediatory approach, get a resolution in the line of what Professor Akinyoade has been teaching us in the last 1 or 2 hours, and then take it to the court. I don't see any court saying we will not turn our judgment to consent judgment. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. And in addition to what my seniors have said, we remind Doc that we now have Arbitration and Mediation Act 2023, which gives force, more force to a mediated agreement if the agreement, especially if the agreement has been done in line of, with the provisions of the heart. It makes it very credible, very, very credible. And like my two seniors have said, it can replace the previous court judgment. Doc, does that answer your question, ma'am? I hope to join your medical mediator team too. It seems there is money there. Doc, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you. Thank you very much, our able profs.
Thank you, Josh.
So the question from Osaru, please get ready. I will send you prompts on Meet Your Mind so you can share your thoughts. This is question from Adekule Aremu. He's saying, Prof, what format is the book Beyond Settlement? If it's print, how do I receive the copy, please?
We have electronic. When it's ready, it's going to be in electronic format and hard copy. So the one advertised here is the electronic format. Then the hard copy, if you need the hard copy, you can order for that too. We mail it to you wherever you are.
Thank you very much. Osaru, can you unmute your mic quickly?
Oh, am I muted?
No, not you, sir.
Oh, great.
Hello? Hello?
Please proceed.
Can you hear me? Hello?
We can hear you. Please proceed.
Oh, okay, thank you. Is the issue, the question that was raised that have been well discussed, whether parties can settle after judgment? I'm a lawyer, 31 years post-court. I want to share my own experience. We had the case. It was more of a land and communal matter. The issue before the High Court for 13 years was the name of the community and who owns the land area in the community. Both communities or both parties, they live together. They do not have clear-cut boundary. You know, they build houses together, they live together. But these community people, they see themselves as different people and different community. So we're before the High Court for 13 good years. At the end, judgment was rendered by the High Court. We are the claimants. We got victory. We won, and the other side appealed to the Court of Appeal in Benin here. And they were very strong in occupation of the land. We were unable to enjoy our victory because they were very strong in physical occupation. At the end of the day, the lawyer on the losing side, may God bless his soul, he's a learned son, he invited me, we sat down, we mediated between both parties. We were able to reach an amicable settlement, which we reduced into writing by way of terms of settlement. We filed in the Court of Appeal. And both of us requested that the Court of Appeal should dismiss the appeal based on our terms of settlement. And that's what was done in the Court of Appeal Benin. And I want to report here that after about over 12 years now, there have not been disputes. They've been living together because what we did was that we took the two names and we joined them together as the name of the community. And that they should also jointly own the land area in the community. For over 12 years now, they've been enjoying the community together, and there have not been any dispute at all. This is a true life experience that I participated in.
Thank you very much, sir, for that thoughtful contribution.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Osaru, for sharing with us your experience.
Yes,
thank you so much. We appreciate you. So
right.
Quickly before we go, this webinar awards all our participants 2 CPD units with the certificate of participation going for a token of just 5,000 naira. So kindly visit the website on your screen, the bit.ly/webinar CER, to make a payment so you can get your certificate of participation. The certificate award you 2 CPD units in addition to the units that you already have or the units you want to start accumulating, so that you can upgrade your membership cadre from one to the other, either from associate to full member or from a full member to a fellow cadre. So the certificate of participation is 5,000 naira only. I'm going to send this link to our mail and also the link to rewatch the webinar. Just one more question to Professor Demola. Sir, please, can we share your slide to our participants via email?
Please do.
Very good. Thank you very much, sir. So with your approval, I will send a slide to all our participants. So coming up on the 27th and 28th of this month is our continuing professional development for members of the Institute and non-members who desire to specialize or to become a professional in mediating communal conflicts. As we all know, there are different kinds of conflicts. We have family, we have workplace, and this particular course, I'm glad to inform us that Professor Demola Akinyoade will be joining us. This is advanced class. So if you desire to know more about how a mediator can mediate a communal conflict, we encourage you to join this CPD course. For our members, it has been discounted to 100,000 naira, and for non-members is 120,000. And after your successful participation, this course will award you 20 CPD units. 20 CPD units. So this is to encourage all our members and non-members and participants joining us on this webinar today to register for this amazing course. If you want to proceed with payment, you can make use of the payment on your screen. You can either screenshot it or you snap so that you can have it handy, then make payment after the webinar. Once again, it's happening 27 and 28. That's on Wednesday and on Thursday. Once again, I also like to remind us that the Africa's largest ADR conference, which is the ICMC annual conference and induction ceremony, will be coming up 28th of November, 2025. This is also to encourage all members, non-members, and all our international delegates to take advantage of the early bird registration. As you can see on your screen, member associate is to pay 20,000, member is 25, fellow is 40, non-member is 40,000, virtual participation is 15,000, international delegate is $65. For our student members, is 10,000 naira, while our student member attending virtually is 5,000 naira only. So for registration, you can visit www.icmcconference.org. The early bird registration will close on the 30th of September, 2025. This event will be holding at the Abuja Trade and Convention Center in Nigeria. So this is to encourage you to also register for this coming conference. Distinguished participants and our amazing guest speaker, Professor Demola Akinyoade, this is to say a very big thank you to you. And also we appreciate our very own godfather, Dr. Louis Brown Ogbefun, and Professor Olajide Olagunju, and our other distinguished participants of this webinar. Without further ado, I would like to say thank you and see you next month.
Thank you, Josh. Bye.